Happy Tuesday. I hope everybody's Labor Day was awesome. Somebody asked me in my Discord server, I think it was Dennis. He asked me to go over reasonable suspicion and probable cause. He also wanted me to go over reasonable suspension. I don't know. Reasonable suspicion and probable cause. I'm not in front of a computer, so this is just going to be your quick kind of broad overview. If you're having to worry about these, something's probably gone horribly wrong, because it's not the role of the suspect in an investigation to figure out if at the time of the investigation the officer has reasonable suspicion or probable cause. And unless your state law varies, the officer doesn't have to explain to you what his reasonable suspicion or probable cause is. In fact, arrest can occur when neither the officer nor the suspect knows that arrest has occurred. It's one of those things where if enough indicia of arrest have come into play, then all of a sudden the court will infer that an arrest has been made. And since neither the officer nor the suspect knows that the arrest has been made at that point, you can't reasonably suspect the officer to have informed the suspect as to what they're being arrested for. So, from that, ipso facto, there is nothing requiring the officer to articulate to the suspect the reasonable suspicion or the probable cause. Now that we all fully understand that, and that we all fully understand that the auditors who are asking about it either have no idea what they're talking about and or are just trying to create drama for views, let's go ahead and talk about it. Step number one, reasonable suspicion. Basically, reasonable suspicion is the officer's suspicion combined with one or more articulable facts. That's it. It's an incredibly low bar to hurdle. If the officer can't get past that bar, and he has to be able to state these facts in court, if he can't get past that hurdle, then something's gone horribly, horribly wrong. In California, if the officer is trying to arrest you based on obstruction or delay, 148A, because you failed to identify, well, there's a lot of case law on that. The officer will not have been able to articulate his suspicion in court because he's articulating suspicion of something that's not a crime. Likewise, if all he has to say, I mean the sum total of everything he has to say is that he thought that the suspect's filming of him was interfering with his official duties. And again, plenty of case law on that, 148G. Well, actually, not plenty of case law, but there's a statute on that, 148G, says that filming by itself can't be used to justify 148A by itself. Filming by itself. So, if that's one way that the officer can fail the reasonable suspicion test, the other way would be if just really poor attorney work. The attorney can't ask the officer, what facts did you have to support your conclusion? Because it's such a low bar to hurdle. It's such a low bar to hurdle. Again, remember back to Terry v. Ohio. Officer McFadden saw people looking into store windows, walking back to street corners, and talking about it. Whoop-de-freaking-woo. From that, he determined, or he had a suspicion they may be looking to do a stick-up job, and so that was his reasonable suspicion, walking up to and looking into windows. Good morning. So, again, all completely legal actions, nothing, no smoking gun, as it were. Illinois v. Wardlow, similarly, Guy standing at the corner of a building holding an opaque bag in an area known for selling narcotics. The officers roll in a caravan. They see him take off. That was their reasonable suspicion. He's in a high drug trafficking area. He was standing at the corner of a building and he was holding an opaque bag. Ta-da! Reasonable suspicion. They reasonably suspected he was selling drugs. Such a low bar to hurdle. Almost impossible to not make it over that bar. If you think that filming a oil refinery does not give an officer reasonable suspicion, you're probably wrong. It is that low of a bar to hurdle. Officer can say, I suspected they were planning a terroristic act against the refinery. And I base that on the fact that they were out filming the security measures. Ta-da! Reasonable suspicion. So yeah, super low bar to hurdle. You're not going to win arguing that one out in the field again. Let me, before we go even that far, let me just admonish you once again as not your lawyer to say, shut your damn pie holes. Unless you're looking for drama, don't talk to the police. If they suspect you or if they want consensual conversation, if you get that funny feeling that they might think something's wrong, shut your pie hole. Don't incriminate yourself. You might not know you're incriminating yourself, but it is the officer's training and experience to get people like you to incriminate yourself. Probable cause is just a little bit higher of a bar to hurdle. Basically, instead of being able to have facts to convince themselves that you may be up to no good, they have to have enough facts to convince a reasonable person that a crime was committed and you probably did it, or a crime was about to be committed and you were probably about to commit it. So, something like that. You're walking up to a bank, a closed bank with a crowbar. They at that point they could probably arrest you for attempted bank robbery. You know, probable cause would probably exist. Now, would you be able to rob a bank with a crowbar? Probably not. But I've seen people try to. I've seen videos on YouTube, I should say, of people trying to attach like chains to ATM machines and then hook it up to like the axle of their truck and try to yank the ATM machine out of the wall. Normally it ends up with the rear axle of the truck falling off, but hey, you know, people are stupid. So the probable cause standard is a little higher, not a whole hell of a lot higher. But it's a little bit higher. There's the old saying that, you know, you can indict a ham sandwich. An indictment is basically a grand jury saying that there is probable cause that, you know, X person committed Y crime. So very low standard, very low standard. But at the end of the day, it's really not the job of an auditor to try to figure out whether the police have reasonable suspicion or probable cause. It's not really doing you any good out in the field. Basically, I think the best role for an auditor is to keep your nose clean and only be filming. If you're where you're legally allowed to be, like on a traditional public forum, and all you're doing is filming, you're not trespassing, you're not causing a disturbance, you're not doing anything wrong, you're just filming, then anything the officer does at that point would be based on the filming, and it would be much easier for your attorney to defend you. and much easier for your attorney to win a civil case. If you'll notice, all the issues lately have been with auditors doing other things. Typically, I mean, this last California Guardian arrest, that was a little sketch-tastic. That was a lot sketch-tastic. That was pretty much blatantly wrong on the part of the officer. But that seems to be more the exception, not the rule. Even in Leon Valley, while I do not believe that the officers had the authority to arrest witnesses for failure to identify, they had I think they had probable cause that crimes were being committed with the whole retaliation against Salvaggio by putting up and possibly reading. I'm told that Val may have read the address for either Salvaggio or his daughter, but I have no idea if that's actually true, because obviously the video is not there. I do find it fascinating, though, that Val gets out of jail, makes videos, and then deletes them. I wonder if he realizes that nothing is ever truly deleted off of YouTube. Anyway, that's about it for today. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a great week.